Happy Saturday. Welcome to the Marketing Madmen. Trip Job and Nick Constantino here live from the Battery. And, it's going to be fun today. We got some of our favorite things to do, talking about food and spending time with friends and outdoors. And I think it's all driven by Jed Strange, who's joining us from Gather Grill. So welcome, Jed.
Thanks so much. Good to be here.
You know, Trip, it's funny. So I will be pretty soon 10 years in Georgia, 10 years in the South, 10 years in Atlanta. And I tell people
your visa's running out.
And I tell people all the time, I get more Southern year by year. And one of those big things was understanding the concept of and the culture behind grilling. It's just a different thing. And I love the Northeast. It's just a different thing. First of all, the seasons are so different, right? No one's going outside when it's 4 degrees outside to grill. It's just not happening. And two, like there you have one grill and that's the multi-purpose grill. Here, I mean, somehow I have 6 grills now. Like you need one for everything. And it just becomes such a lifestyle thing. So I'm excited to have this conversation. Now we can go get some Strange also because we got Mr. Jed Strange here. So getting Strange is also super fun. So Jed, why don't you, but let's, before we even get to Gather Grills, because I think that's going to be our middle, talk about you, we talked before and you had a pretty big pivot in COVID and there's inventing in your family. You've gone through this before. Let's set the stage to how you got to Gather Grills because that'll lead us into the rest of the conversation.
Sounds good. But your voice is definitely, your pace is slowed down now that you've been here.
I think so.
You're really on a slow Southern pace.
I've tried.
So, essentially, I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. I've got 4 brothers. We're all kind of in our own stuff, which sounds glamorous and fun, but it's running your own business sucks a lot of time. It's really tough. But my dad invented a hydraulic deer stand in the early 90s. For a friend of his that brought his son that had broken his leg. So we grew up on a farm and did a lot of outdoor stuff like that. And ran that business for a couple of years as a hobby business. And then when the Olympics came to Atlanta, turned it into a portable guard tower. And then we got into trying to build a business for the first time, growing up on a farm and didn't have a clue what we were doing. So so hydraulic stand, so pretty much the stand comes down. So you're using originally for hunting. Someone who couldn't climb up comes down, puts them up, and then hydraulically lifts back up for elevation. And then it became a guard tower because now you can load all your equipment on and go up as opposed to carrying everything up. So the Olympics needed security, so they're putting up all these different venues that are going to be temporary. So they actually leased 30.
This is pre-Olympics they did that.
Pre-Olympics.
Okay.
They leased.
Versus the Centennial incident. Okay.
Yes.
I wasn't sure if this was a panic buy or
this is pre-Olympics.
But the price doubled after that happened though.
But they got 30 of them and they put them at all the different spaces for parking lot security and event security, and which we thought was amazing. Now we didn't factor in the fact that at the end of the Olympics, of course, they're sending them all back to us, but it really is what got us on the map and kind of launched that business. So we ran that for 10 years and then I got out and turned our farm into a corporate retreat space. It shut down during COVID. I had a big fire pit there. Had not much to do. Didn't know if we were ever going to leave the farm. Of course, we were all wondering a lot of things. And I started to figure out how to cook on it for fun. And next thing you know, I'm dumping some of my personal money into it, going either this is an expensive hobby that I need to stop or I need to get some investors. So that's how it started.
So talk about that, because and whether it's COVID or there's different times that business owners have to or should go through that whole rethinking and what's the possibility. I mean, was it just a light bulb moment? Was it just kind of doing the same thing over a period of time, kind of got you going? What was the time process where you started to say, hey, maybe we have something here?
So COVID hit in February 2000. I started cooking on this thing February 2000, but we were cooking on it in a very rudimentary way. We were just kind of building a fire and trying to build something. And I had a friend of mine who had a plasma cutter. So I was like, hey, can you cut something custom with our logo in it? So we did that and thought, man, this is going to make for some cool pictures, which it did. But as we started using it, we're like, this isn't practical. Like nobody's going to buy this thing and cook on it. So somebody said, you need to put a table around the outer edge of it. All right, we'll do that. So we did that. And then the grill was so big, it was almost 7 feet across. So we couldn't reach it. And we were like, well, now we've just created a massive, you're never going to move it, but it's really cool. You've got the only one. It'll take really cool pictures, but that was as far as we thought it was going to go. And then we had an idea to make it spin and put ball bearings in it, and that's what really turned it into people saying, man, I think you got something here. And I'm like,
so kind of the iterative process over a month, 2 months, 3 months.
It was about 2 to 3 months. It took about 2 to 3 months and about, I hate to even say it, about $50,000 worth of experimentation.
Right. But figuring out what didn't work.
Yep.
Versus, I mean, I think we see that a lot of people get that idea and they get that glimmer and then they run to commercialize right away.
Yes.
No, that's R&D.
That's a big. That's today. That's a big mistake.
You need ROI. Everyone, their brain goes to ROI, and they go 10 steps above. I'm just curious how many great stories in life started with the words, "My friend had a plasma cutter." Right? I'm still stuck on that one. Like there are times where I'm like, you know what? If I just had a friend who had a freaking plasma cutter, this would have been a much easier thing. But you know, one of the things I think the recurring theme of COVID was people were desperate for human connection, and one of the best parts about food and what I've learned about grilling again is that culture and lifestyle. Whether it's tailgating, you're not using it for the utility of cooking it, which is amazing, right?
Yeah.
The grease comes off. It's a great thing to do, but you're doing it because everyone gets around the grill and there's a conversation. The meat's smoking, so you're sitting out there having conversations. Yeah. So I think, you know, from what I've heard, and that COVID, if that COVID didn't happen, maybe this company didn't exist. Maybe if people weren't longing for that human connection, you wouldn't be outside gathering around this place where this is now like the center of everything. So as weird as it sounds like COVID was a huge impact and led you to a lot of these things.
Yeah, I don't think it would have happened because I wouldn't have had the time to work on it. I've had a Big Green Egg. I've had different grills. I took a Blackstone, put a table around it. I've tried to build this thing before, and I built something that worked. A picnic table with a Blackstone in it. I mean, I put on the hat and I could do the thing, but it was cool. But it was just something in my backyard. But to be able to combine the things that I love, which is sitting around a fire, being able to cook, being able to grill like you would on a typical charcoal grill, but also having the griddle aspect, and then having a smoker and having a table, it's just kind of like, oh my gosh.
You can cook for a couple hundred people if you needed to.
Yeah, or you can do a really cool, like, chef table, private, cook for your family, cook for your friends, and there's no better way to eat a steak or eat really anything, in my opinion, than right off the grill. There's nothing more annoying to me than cooking out for people and they're all talking and they're all over the place and I got the steaks ready and I'm like, okay, so as soon as I get them off the grill, I want them eating it in the next 2 minutes or it's going to start to go downhill.
Dude, I know the game. I completely. I've actually eons ago, I ran a little personal chef business, and me and the other chef would fight all the time because he wanted to plate everything.
Yeah,
I'm like, dude, I don't have time to plate. These are lamb chops. If you don't eat this thing
you
off the bone from the grill, like you're losing out. And then, of course, ironically, all the people, and we were at like Sundance Film Festival. We were in front of legit people, and everyone's like, I don't want a freaking plate, dude. I want the lamb chop off the grill. If my mouth isn't burning at the top and my palate isn't burnt, I'm not eating it correctly. So, and again, that's the carnal, that's the animal in us too, right, man? Like that, when the blood comes out, there's something about that. We're getting real like I'm a crazy weird, but you know what I'm saying? There's something about it.
Yeah.
There's something about it. So we have, you know, and so you did your R&D. You're to the point now where you know this is something, okay? Yeah. So what moment, you were talking before we started that the next thing was we need seed money. And if you couldn't get the seed money and my friends and family didn't believe in this, I wasn't going to move forward. One, you'd already put your own money in, so that's a hard thing. Talk about that moment. Talk about what made you decide to move forward and how the support of friends and family made you realize that you really had something here.
Yeah, great question. So I knew we had something that was cool. I knew we had something people would think would be cool and would come over and let me go through the difficult process of potentially working something that's not made in a way that people would buy it, but I would know it so they could come over and use it. But I didn't think until we made it spin that I had something. So after we did that, I just invited people over. I said, all right, because I've got our family is extended families, you know, 12 kids and brothers, and so there's a bunch of people. So they were the test bed, and I pretty much told every one of my brothers, I said, all right, cook your favorite dish on it and tell me what you think. So they did, and they, of course, not afraid to tell me their feedback. I mean, they gave me some, it's too low, they gave me some feedback that was good, but they're like, but it was really a lot of fun, and the steak was really good. So it was at least past the sniff test. And so I tweaked a couple of those things, and then I had more people, I had some friends come over, And I had enough people come over to say, man, I think you got something. And then I turned around and said, how much do you believe in it? You know, pretty much said, were you willing to jump in with me? And I got enough people to jump in with me. I hosted a big dinner at my house with 3 grills, did the pitch, and said, I mean, this is Shark Tank night. I mean, this is y'all's opportunity. Ask me questions. And I got about 10 investors it took about 6 weeks and got about 10 investors.
Well, it's interesting, though, that one of your early experiments is, from what I heard, you had put other people on the grill and had them do it. And, right? And what I've seen a lot of times with consumer goods is the expert still does the demo, whether it's to investors or not, right? And so it's not the same. So you actually got better probably feedback of having someone else sit behind or sit, you know, one part of the grill and utilize it versus you doing it and them just watching.
Yeah. Well, it's so cool. Just even the story I told you guys before we walked in here, like I'm having my dad, my brother, my nieces and nephews all crowded around this grill in the early stage to validate it. And just yesterday for an hour, we were on the phone with a prominent chef to have him validate it. So yesterday we had somebody validate it that I'm like, if he gives it a check, I think we've kind of got the next level of encouragement to go to another level with the business, which is a wildly scalable business.
Well, I think there's also so many different verticals, right? Scalable is one thing, getting it into your house, but there's also having exterior remodeling companies build these into people's houses. That's a vertical. Then there's also what if you were a chef that you brought it with you and showed up at someone's house and brought it with you, because that's ultimately like, look, you can be the best barbecuer in the world. Having 3 different things, a smoker, a griddle, is not easy to do. Like having all your vegetables, because the thing that everyone gets wrong is timing.
Right.
Well, you got a lot of things going. I think we're going to maybe dive into that business plan in a little bit. But when we come back from the break, let's dive in a little bit more about the Gather Grills. And so we'll do that in just a few minutes. And you're listening to the Marketing Madmen on Extra 106.3. We'll be right back.